So, dear friends, we were discussing regarding the fifth aphorism from the sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, and we have started discussing about this, that Hahnemann wants to explain the nature of diseases or causes of diseases over here. He started with the acute disease, the exciting cause, and the exciting cause is one causes generally indisposition or individual variety of the acute disease. Acute diseases, that is basically there are four types: the individual, the sporadic, the epidemic, and endemic. Out of which the first one, that is individual or individual or indisposition, is caused because of exciting cause. Then he explains about that there are chronic diseases which are caused because of chronic miasms, and out of which first important is the psoric miasm. Psoric is generally a fundamental miasm because of which rest of the two miasm develops at the same time, because of which the acute disease also gets out. And these are the things which happens over there. So what he explains over there, that in such types of cases you don't get a characteristic symptoms very commonly, and if you don't get the characteristic symptoms, it is very difficult to reach to the minimum in chronic disorder. So how to investigate these causes of chronic diseases, and that is what is he called explains, that how to investigate a fundamental miasm. So he starts with, there are 7 points which he has highlighted regarding this, and out of which the first one which we have discussed day before yesterday, the ascertainable physical constitution of the patient, and we have learned it in depth, that whatever is visible to your naked eye, that you can very easily find it out. And you get, have you done the homework which I have told you? How many of you have done homework where I have explained that you find it out, open the Kent's repertory and just go through the every chapter and find it out, observable rubrics? Anyone who have done this work? I'm sure that energy remains only for 40 minutes. Thereafter, everyone forgets about the thing. So basically, this is too important. When you go through it, then you will understand the importance of it in your practice. You go with this homework. That is the very essential work you must do. In fact, when I have done the British University MD in 1997, I took that topic, that all visible rubrics or observable rubrics, study of observable rubrics from Kent's repertory as well as Bonning-Hussen's therapeutic pocketbook. That study I have done, and it made the difference with me, because of which I was very familiar with the many rubrics which I can read on the patient's face or in the gestures, and it makes the difference. You become more confident to prescribe when you know that these symptoms are there in the repertory. So those who have not yet done, go through it again and find it out. It takes a time, at least a week period or fortnight you might require, but go at least start doing it with one chapter. So automatically you will go with the rest of the chapter. After learning these observable symptoms or ascertainable physical constitution, we have learned another aspect, that is moral and intellectual character. We have just discussed it again in length, that how the patient is, whether he's conscientious patient, very moral, or he's immoral, and all those matters, because it defines the generally the miasm or fundamental cause. Generally, psorics are more moral, and other two, the syphilitic and psychotic, they are generally immoral. Then intellectual character also we have discussed in length, that intellectual character explains you the individuality of the individual, and that is one more point which we have to look for. Then third point which we have discussed again in yesterday's lecture, the occupation of the person. The attitude of the person looking towards his own occupation makes you a better understanding of the individual, because every individual looks toward their own occupation in a different manner. Sometimes some people likes the occupation, some never likes the occupation, someone makes it or do it because of some pressure, because of the conditions are not favorable. So there are many more things which you can get or which you can find it out at that time. So this point also we have discussed, and the occupational hazards also we have discussed in length. Now, today we'll start with the another important point, the fourth point, the mode of living and the habits of the person. And this again gives you exactly the understanding of the human being. What is mode of living? There are many facets to mode of living, and that gives you individuality. Mode of living, generally it is considered that whether the patient is from poor socio-economic condition or patient is from the very good class of socio-economic condition. Yes, that is one aspect of looking towards things, and accordingly few diseases which develops over there, that you can discuss on the basis of that. That is all allopathic point of view or modern point of view looking towards this mode of living. But it is not only the thing. When you think about the patient, you have to find it out how, if the patient is sitting in front of you, how the patient looks, how is his mode of living, and whether it is correlated with his real life. That also gives you a perspective, different perspective. So some people who are poor enough doesn't have capacity to mm, uh, to use the big things or to use the higher mobiles or very high certain ornaments, etc. But they wear that even though they are not real one, but they wear that in order to show, in order to ostentation. So that gives a different perspective of looking toward the patient. Then it is a question: why do you wear this if your capacity is not there? He wants that I must look beautiful. I want to show how I look. All those things. So how a person look towards that and how a person behaves, that is his mode of living. Certain people like a sulfur who are totally indifferent to their personal appearance. They are not looking towards themselves, even though they have ample money. They never remains according to their situation, according to their capacity, according to their real nature, and they remains as if they have not earning anything. That is an indifference towards the personal appearance. Single remedy rubric is sulfur. Only remedy is sulfur under that. So again, one more remedy is there, coca in that rubric, but coca has a different perspective. Coca remains in that indifference because coca, once cocaine is consumed, he is not the person of this world. Then it doesn't matter who is along with him, who looks towards him, because he is in a different world. And that's why that symptom or that rubric is there, coca is there in that rubric, indifference to personality. But sulfur is rather different. Sulfur is rack philosopher. Sulfur remains in his own egotism. He says that who look towards me? Everyone looks towards my brain. Everyone looks towards my intellect. So they never cares about their appearance. That is sulfur. When you ask them, why do you wear such a thing? He says that old is gold. They are always keeps their fashions, old fashions as it is. And these are the things which you have to look. So this mode of living is nothing but understanding human being with a different aspect. So would the effect of his socio-economic condition on his mode of living, whether it is there, if it is there, then what it is, if it is not there, why it is not, all those things gives you individuality of that individual. So it is one facet through which you can go into the case taking. So where do you stay? Question arises. You put a question, where do you stay? That defines, he stays in certain specific area. What is the impact of that specific area? When he stays over there, what is the impact of it? So it matters a lot, and that gives you a real understanding about the human being. And Hahnemann says this is one point one should not forget. How is the mode of living? Then in the mode of living, another important thing which comes, that you have to ask for, how is the daily routine of that individual? Because that is also part and parcel of his mode of living. Mode of living gives you identity. So everyone's daily lifestyle is different. If there was one patient who had suffered from the mm, recurrent myocardial infarction, 2 times bypass was done, and he third time again he was advised to go for a bypass surgery, and he was nearly about 96 kg per person, very short stature, came to me sitting over there, having very typical hairs from his eyes coming out, and he was looking towards me like this. And he, when I asked, at what time do you wake in the morning? He just looked towards me, 1 o'clock. I asked, which one? Midnight or midday? He said midday. So it is not a morning. So second question, then I asked, when do you take breakfast? He says that around 2 o'clock my breakfast is there. Then what time you take lunch? He says around 4, 5. And what time dinner? No, I took breakfast again at 7, 8 o'clock, and I took dinner at 1 o'clock at night. And what time do you sleep? He says that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock I used to sleep. So I said that do bypass again, because it was not possible to treat that patient in this way. So these are the things which affects the health. So you have to understand the mode of living which causes a problem for the patient. You have to understand why the person is suffering. His mode of living itself is responsible to produce the decision that endures. It is your duty to tell him you have to change. There are many patients who comes to you with gout. Generally, it has been said that it develops because of protein consumptions. It has been considered that the person who used to consume more and more protein suffers from gout, or and then you ask them not to take proteins. You ask all the details, etc. They should avoid the non-veg. They should avoid the eggs, all those things. But what happens when you ask to avoid all those things from the patient? Even after that, they suffer from the gout, and this is my observation. So I have learned about it that it happens because they never follow the biological clock. They sleep very late at night and suffers from it. And if you ask them to follow the proper timings of the sleep, immediately the uric acid comes down. So these are the very essential things one must learn, one must understand. And this thing which you have to understand from the patient. So mode of living plays a very, very, very vital role in order to understand the human being. So one facet gets opened when you look towards the mode of living. And second point which he explains over there is the habits. There are many habits of the person. What is the habit? The answer is there in the word habit. If you remove H, a bit remains. If you remove A, bit remains. If you remove B, it remains, is a habit. So it is always there. It never goes. And habits, what generally happens? We generally think about the habits only in relation with the real habits. It is related with addictions only. Yes, that is one part of habit. Addiction is one part of the habit. Yes, tobacco chewing, using tobacco misery, using or eating tobacco, or eating smoking BD, then there are many more, alcohol, drinking alcohol, taking drugs. Yes, these are the habits. These are habits which are nothing but the addictions. So it is a small terminology when you consider these addictions. It is a small terminology with which you can understand that the patient might be suffering because of all those habits. The exciting causes or maintaining causes are hidden in the habits, all those types of habits. But this is one perspective. Habits are not always addictions. So just see, I asked the patient that you stop taking the tobacco. Then he asked me immediately, sir, is it, shall I take the soap instead of tobacco? He asked immediately the alternative. If you ask no, nothing, then he asks that whether hard nut is it okay to eat hard nut? So these are the things, these are the habits. Second important thing, habits are related with the works also. Some people, they are having the habit of working day and night. Day and night, that is the habit. They become restless. Generally, you observe the surgeons, gynecologists, if they are sitting idle, if one of the day they never get a case for surgery, what happens? They are becoming so restless, their hands are trembling like a calibron. This happens because they become restless. They have a habit of doing very hard work, again doing surgeries again and again. That becomes a habit of them. So if they are workaholic, what is the rubric? What rubric you can get if the person is working day and night continuously? He won't.
Workaholic.
It is not the rubric. It is not there in the repertory. Repertory, you can get the rubric industrious. Yes,
Industrious.
it is the industrious which you can get over there. Industriousness. So that sometimes it becomes a habit of the person. So you can get individuality. This person is having, another person is exactly opposite. He is having the habit of just taking the rest. Anytime you ask, what are you doing? No, taking the rest, enjoying the life. That's all. You ask anytime, they are taking the rest. That also becomes a habit. So they are always in rest desire for. They are indolent, never wants to do anything. Indolence. So see, just looking towards the patient and finding it out, such types of different habits, those habits give you individuality of that individual. So you don't get a lazy rubric over there. Instead of laziness, you get the indolence. So certain personalities, they are too indolent. If you ask yes to do this, they will postpone it. No, I don't want to. Instead of that, we'll do it tomorrow. You ask them whether to do study immediately. No, sir, tomorrow. What is their rubric? Indolence is a big rubric. Postponing things to next day. This is the rubric directly given over there in the repertory. If you open the synthesis or complete, you get this postponing the things for next day. So you can get the another thing from the patient. So there are varieties of habits. Habits are related with the eating also. There are certain persons who are very foodie. They like many things. You ask them, yes, what do you like? The answer is, sir, ask me what I don't like. There was one person with whom I asked the question, what do you like? He said, what I don't like, that ask. I like everything. You give me anything, I enjoy that. And I never like that it should be given in small quantity. They says that I want it and I want it in big quantity. Then there is a उसमें मजा है खाने की मजा उसके सिवा क्या. So the question is that then you get that individuality. This is the habit of the person. So what is the rubric? Yes, Anita, she has written government. Very correct. Government, Khadad, who are always used to like and a tasty food. That is, this is government. So this is again a habit. And there are persons who are exactly opposite. You ask them, what do you like? They think a lot and then the answer says, I like ice cream. In the food, I like ice cream only. They never like the food. That is also a problem with the certain person. So question arises, at that time you get a individuality. So habits are related with it, and those you have to understand from the patient. So it is not just a habit of regarding the addiction only. There are such types of habits of the persons which you can find it out, and you can get that individuality. There are certain persons, they have the children, they are having habit that unless and until they are clinging to their mother, they cannot sleep. They always wants to cling to the mother. That is very, very important. That is a habit of them. There are certain persons who used to sleep only on abdomen. That is a habit of a person. So you get the individuality. Yes, ravenous hunger is also there, but ravenous hunger is different. Hunger is different, and government is different. Hunger means he is hungry. He wants to eat. He is hungry because he can. The appetite is not finished in hungry. In the government, he likes many varieties and tasty food. So government is different and hungry is different. Ravenous hunger is that he wants to go on eating, 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 and it never ends. That is hunger. So sleeping on abdomen, there are certain persons who used to sleep by keeping the hands over their head. There are certain persons who used to sleep keeping hands on behind the head. There are many more positions, and those are the habits of the person. They sleeps in that specific manner. That is an individuality of that person. If you ask, why do you sleep on abdomen? I used to sleep since childhood. I used to sleep in that position. That is their habit. So you have to understand habit is related with anything. So sleeping position is also an habit. Then wearing certain typical clothes is a habit. Then you ask, why do you wear such a thing? And he explains, yes, I feel better because of it. There are persons who comes to you even in the summer, they comes with wearing the sweater. And you ask, why do you wear sweater? Are you not feeling well? No, no, doctor, this is my habit. I like it. I like to wear the sweater, even in summer. You get the remedy. That is an individuality. What is the remedy? Wearing the woolen clothes, even during the summer.
Hyoscyamus?
No high summers. It is Soranum. It is Soranum there. Soranum are so chilly that even during the summer season they wear the hot clothes. So these are the things which you have to look for. So habit is related with anything. It is not specifically only with the addiction, and then only you get the individuality. So these are different ways with which you can enter into the case, and you can find it out exactly how the person is. So we have discussed two important points in today's session. First is the mode of living, and second, habits. Mode of living, many things you can ask. So generally I used to start with, this can be asked in the while taking the address, where person stays, that is one point. Then you can ask his daily routine. At that level you can find it out. Then you ask, where do you work, and at that place the mode of living. Then you look toward the patient and you can understand his mode of living. Then you can ask regarding his earnings also. But when you ask the earnings, always ask the patient. It is not for the purpose of getting me money, but there is a reason, is that I want to ask you your socio-economic condition. For that purpose I want to ask. So why do you ask the salary? Because of which you can compare how the person stays, how the person remains, that you can compare. So there are many facets with which you can enter into the mode of living and understand the patient's, how the person is. And second point which he explains over there, related with the habit, yes, there are many habits of the person. Madhu, she has explained regarding the bathing. Yes, very correct. There are certain people, they used to bath 3 times a day. They feel they are not feeling well, they go for bathing. There are certain persons who never get satisfied after one bath. They go for second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. They are in obsession. And there are another one, those wants to take the tablet of bathing. They never likes to bath. Aversion. So that these varieties are there. That is also one more thing that with which you can understand his habit. That these are the things which you can commonly get. So this is one facet with which you enter into the case and understand the human being. These are all 7 facets to find it out the individuality of the person so that you can reach to one specific simillimum. So with the characteristics, it is possible, but if it is not there, these are the 7 specific points with which you enter into the case. And these Hahnemann wants to explain, and he wants to explain how to find it out, the fundamental cause with the help of them. So today we have discussed big point, mode of living and habits. Tomorrow we'll go with the another point is social and domestic relation. It is in fact a big topic because many a times the causes of the diseases are always hidden in this. Many diseases, their origin is always hidden in these 2 parts, the domestic relations and the social relations. And that we have to learn in depth so that if you understand it, you will definitely give more importance in your case taking to these 2 points, because you will understand what may be the reason because of which the patient has suffered a lot. And if you understand that, then it becomes rather simple to console him. The consolation, your one most important part of the homeopathic management is the consolation, or your most important part of the homeopathic consultation or management is the counseling, at the same time the homeopathic psychotherapy, and that plays a very vital role. For that purpose, you have to understand the patient, and this is generally related with his social and domestic relations. So it is not topic for 5 minutes to discuss. Tomorrow's session will be for that. In fact, tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow is Friday. But my session I will continue. There is no problem with my session. I will continue with my session tomorrow. Only the Divine School session will not be there tomorrow. It is only because we don't want to at the same time there should not be a confusion between the Gauran session over there and the Divine School session. So it Friday sessions we have kept the holiday for Divine School. Rutuja, she has asked one symptom. Sir, what is the rubric for craving sympathy? Yes, it is directly there. Sympathy, desire for. It is directly in the repertory. You can get in mind session, sympathy, desire for. And sympathy is different. Some patients they never want sympathy. They want the flattering. So flattering desire for is different, and sympathy desire for is different. Alish, he has very clearly said that the well-taken case is the half cured. Yes, definitely, and that's why give more importance to understand the human nature. And how can you get this human nature? This human nature you can learn from many facets. Starts reading the human beings. That is more important thing. Then second important thing, starts reading the books which are not of your regular curriculum. You read many people's books. If you are Marathi people, go through the Marathi literature written by the big writers who have written the like Pula Deshpande, P.L. Deshpande. Second is the Vapu Kale. They have in fact unfortunately they were not homeopaths. Otherwise they would have done the very big research in the field of homeopathy, because they have understood the human nature. And if you listen that, then you can get, yes, this is what they have understood the human nature very clearly. And if you read that, then you will understand this is what the patient is telling the same thing. So you have to understand this. The Prasuna, she has explained the consolation desire. No, consolation is different and sympathy is different. Consolation, it is a part and parcel when someone is ill, someone is suffering from some grief, then one must console. That is a consolation. Sympathy is rather different. Sympathy is not related with some grief. Sympathy is a general sympathy for everything. They always wants that, yes, someone is there with me in background. So that is the sympathy. Whatever
Excuse
patient
me,
has
sir.
done in the past is the guilty. What the rubrics. So if the patient feels it is guilty, then there is a direct rubric. What is that rubric? Anyone?
Anxiety consent.
Correct. Anxiety conscience of as if a guilty of a crime. Very correct, Anita. Very correct. Anxiety conscience of as if a guilty of a crime. That is the rubric. So difference between sulfur and agaricus, big topic. That is a materia medica session. We'll do it one of the day. Many lot of difference is there, sulfur and agaricus.
Excuse me,
Anxiety
sir.
conscience of a guilty of a crime. Huh, Rutuja?
Sir, in Kent's repertory, I could find that in the mind section, there is sympathetic, but I could not find craving for sympathy.
Kent's repertory, there are many more limitations you can get. So my suggestion is that always be there with the new repertory. So sympathy, desire for you can get in Patak's repertory. You can get in complete. You can get it in synthesis. You should have a synthesis in your mobile. Make a habit of going through that. That will guide you many things because it is available on in the mobile. Everyone should have that mobile version at least so that you can get new rubrics for that. And who has explained? Yes, Dr. Uma, she has mentioned about the Patak's repertory. There are rubric, guilt, sense of, or sympathy, desire for. Yes, very correct. So anything else do you want to discuss? So we'll conclude today's sessions. We'll meet tomorrow with the same aphorism with another point, that is the social and domestic relations. And that is a very important topic again for understanding the human being. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone who are there. Dr. Varkesar, then
Thank you, sir.
Roma, Ifet, Prasuna, Prithna, Jayasri, Manisha, everyone is there. Thank you very much for attending session. We'll meet tomorrow with at the same time.